Hello, War of the Visions fans. I'm Jackie Fox, and today we're going to be doing another episode of Future Visions, a video where we take a look at all of the new characters and such that are coming over from the JP side, and things that you can expect to be seeing in the near future of this game, based on as much forward information as we have. And if you watched my video on the trap, you'll know that it's super important to watch videos like this for future planning of your carefully earned and hardly hoarded viz. I know this video is going to end up being long enough as it is, but I also do want to mention that the summer raid is a mini raid, and I really like this format compared to the regular raid system. It's only 30 levels, although the mini boss can be hard to fully max out before you hit level 30, so there are reasons that you might want to overgrind this a bit. There really aren't a ton of things to buy with the medals, so you don't need to overgrind these raids, and because they stop at level 30, they're new player accessible as all heck. You'll probably find it easier to just go through this whole experience with only 1 or 2 characters in your party. And, it's the morning of the update. I've been awake for maybe 2 hours, and I'm already comfortably on level 30. Also, if you hadn't noticed, we are still doing the Reincarnation Festival, and this affects a lot of things in game. I should have said this sooner, but in addition to getting more shards in the barracks, you should have half the shard time in barracks. It should only take 6 hours to get a shard now instead of 12 for those characters. But also they get 3 times the shards for daily hard missions as well. So definitely something to think about, definitely something to be doing, and definitely a way to be engaging with the game. Also bonus JP, but that's not as big a deal. Anyways, let's get back into the video. So first though, because I didn't expect that this would exactly happen today, I don't know what it's like right now in Japan, but right now where I am in the world, it's not summer. It's hurricane season. The 5th season of the year that's only getting longer. The more we advance into our tropically temperatured future. I guess the whole world is going to have summer all the time. Anyways, let's talk about our new summer unit first, and we'll talk about some other stuff. So, with Resnik here, very cool character. This is going to be a magically based character who equips book, but she is going to do some very different things. So we're seeing the decreased attack time. That's become standard for casters like this. Decreased chance of being targeted is interesting. Decreased magic damage and increasing her ice resistance. Feels a little bit niche, but okay. That's fine. Not entirely sure what her TMR does, but it looks like it could really be cool. Even just this is pretty okay. So an autocast skill, I don't know what kind of autocast wotv isn't aware of yet, but we'll see. Stats here look pretty good. The HP is a bit low, but this is a mage, that's okay. Attack power is pretty high. Agility is just a little bit lacking. Really, agility, this is fast, right? This is pretty fast, but for newer characters, the standard has been closer to 69 if average or 70 if fast. So this is just a little bit, by a tiny increment, a little bit slower than a lot of newer characters. She does have good dexterity, but she is not particularly lucky, evasive, or accurate. I guess 14 accuracy isn't terrible, but it's not great. Her resistances also aren't very good, just in general, and she seems to be missing a status resistance, although it's only her 10% resistance, so okay, fine. But she resists poison and stun, so that's not bad. Those are both, I would say, fairly relevant statuses. Distance-based damage reduction, healing power, debuff effect weakening, and reduces magical damage, but only for 2 hits. Which is interesting, because the upgrade to Summer Glaciela, which we'll talk about in a minute, just gives her this permanently. And also gives her this full effect. off of her LB, which should stack with that innate effect as well for like a total of 30%. Again, no real like 2 hits removed thing. She's not necessarily evasive. Usually characters who get this type of effect are more evasive. They're banking on this idea that you won't hit them. But let's see, AP consumption isn't super relevant for her. The magic is okay though. She can get more ice resistance, really sensing a theme with her being kind of an anti-ice character. Also more decreased activation time. Total of 400 that we're seeing so far, which is honestly kind of low with some of these characters. Another way to increase ice resistance, but I think you might rather have this. The HP does look tempting though. Slash and magic, 2 most common damage types in the game. 70% chance to trigger at all ranges. Reduce damage taken by 30%. That's not bad. There are a lot of things that this misses. This means that more niche units are going to be able to just ignore her counters entirely. But for most characters, that's an issue. If she needs to counter missile though, she has a 100% chance to counter missile damage. Too niche, honestly. Too niche. But if you are going into that niche, it's just another 30% resistance, which is pretty cool. And then auto cure, which is okay, I guess. I'm not as excited about this since she has a pretty low base HP. Her ability to survive through big hits won't be huge, so her ability to heal back after them may not be super important if she gets hit. Okay, so she can restore a small amount of HP, but also raise attack and raise accuracy. It's interesting this isn't attack and magic, but so she's not really, at least for this isn't really for a magic team necessarily. It's good that it increases accuracy for ally, not her, because she really doesn't have any. But I guess maybe she's not meant to be the accurate member of the team. Protector of the beach. So this is really interesting. We'll talk about this in just a second. Let's talk about the more basic stuff here, though. Slash resistance for self 20, magic resistance 20, and AoE resistance 20, all for 4 turns, which is great. And then we're going to be seeing a number of friendly auras. Bunch of interesting friendly auras. I think we may have seen one of these auras before, but not many. Frostbite resistance is going to be pretty important for her, especially defending people like Sephiroth, the one-winged against Gilgamesh. There really seems like a lot of ways in which she's theoretically meant to be an anti-Gilgamesh unit, and we'll talk even more about those in a minute. I say theoretically because I do think there are some holes in that strategy which we should also discuss. As you can see, these are her auras. 20 critical evasion for anyone near her. Curse resistance of, I don't know, 25 to 50%, let's say. Probably 50 to be in line with these other ones, but that does seem a little bit powerful for Curse. But here we have another anti-Curse unit. So we have Curse units and anti-Curse units now. And this is another kind of healer type and another way of just preventing Curse through aura, which I think is interesting and may end up being one of the most effective forms of curse resistance that we've seen so far. So that's certainly interesting. Blind resistance can also be helpful, especially since it seems that has ways of boosting accuracy. Reduces physical damage taken 4 times, 50%. So this can go through a whole 4-hit attack and block 50% of the physical damage every time. Very cool. Especially since she has some ways of dealing with magic, this helps to even her out a bit. Single target resistance for 4 turns by 30. That's pretty huge. That's a good one. Also, I'm just really liking that all of these are 4 turns. Grants upon... Also, this is for allies as well. Grants seal barrier destruction for 3 turns for 4 turns to allies. As you can see, this is an aimable cross pattern, which is good. That's the better of those plus shape patterns. But also, and this is the one that's getting her the most hype, spell follow-up cast for 4 turns. So we're going to talk more about this later on in the video, but there are a lot of really good characters on JP right now when this girl came out that have follow-up attacks. Now you're obviously thinking about Gilgamesh here, and again, I think that's a little bit more of a troubling matchup than people are kind of expecting it to be. But in theory, this could be a really strong way to counter a team like that. Ashenmont has a really powerful counter follow-up, but also even Bart's. Like, people forgot about Bartz. People slept on Bartz. But, oh my god, Bartz also has a very like, he makes a really good combination with Fina, in particular. Because Fina and Bartz will both be doing damage to me well before I can get close to them because of his follow-up. But this also kind of indicates the problem for Gilgamesh. If Gilgamesh is with a ranged unit, and I think this is a really powerful combo for him. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people who are running like Summer Glaciela and One Wing Sephiroth with him, or maybe One Wing Sephiroth and Ashen Mont. If Ashen Mont is a part of this is another person to dispel a follow-up for, so that's great. But if there's more ranged units, if that damage is coming across, that follow-up damage is coming across and Gilgamesh is in the back, then maybe you'll have a harder time hitting him, unless maybe you're using a ranged unit as well. What I'm getting at here is that both Gilgamesh's strategy for countering this, as well as your strategy as a Resnik player for countering Gilgamesh, is both going to be helped tremendously by having a good ranged unit to carry the effects over with. Because despite all of the ice resistance that we're seeing here for this character, if she gets hit by a follow-up plume, that's non-elemental damage, and if it's a long-range skill, she's going to get hit by that well before she'll be able to hit someone with an effect like this and remove that effect. She can also cast this twice, but again, 4 turns, like, by the time it does come to close range, the problems I've been having with Gilgamesh myself are getting my ass kicked before I can even really get near him to do damage because of follow-up plume. I think that she could still have that problem. However, when she closes in, the way that this hits the whole team, the way that it lasts for 4 turns, really is going to guarantee that those follow-up skills are getting removed. But if we're talking about, say, follow-up plume with Gilgamesh, maybe those hits have already been used at the point that the attack goes that close range. Then we have Perfect Summer Prayer. This is a really big area of effect. Reduce magic damage taken 50% for 2 times for allies. And restore HP. This is equal to a Cura, I believe, or a Curaga. It's also instant as of the upgrade. Yeah, we haven't seen any attacks from her yet. No attacks. Very, very supportive. Do we get attacks? Will she attack people? I mean, I guess that's fair for, like, original Thunder Resnik, that she's not very offensively minded. We do finally get an attack here. It does have some range. So this is suggesting 2 things. A, that maybe in some physical damage reduction, magical damage reduction, 15% each, and 25% chance to inflict slow. All of this is only for 3 turns, so her ability to buff others is for 4 turns, but her ability to debuff is only for 3 turns. Worth keeping in mind. And then 50% chance to revive dead ally at 60% health, while also giving herself auto revive. So just give me a second. I gotta think about this. So, like, this is conditional on having a dead ally. I would guess that the primary target of this is your dead ally. I guess this is some way. It's hard to gauge, like, the revive effect here, because it feels like it's somewhere in between raise and full life, which is a little bit troubling, as it does have some chance of failing, and also it's not getting them their full HP back. Both of those things are a little bit troubling, but I think 50% chance to revive might actually be equal to full life. And when you think about the way faith works, that ends up being, for anyone with 50 or above faith, especially considering that Resnik is going to be running high faith herself, that should be about 100%, but it's only a 60% HP gain, which is unfortunate. But I guess the fact that it isn't going to fail is the most important part, so okay. But I feel like having an auto revive is conditional on someone else on your team failing is an auto revive that you're not going to get off nearly often enough to actually help yourself. This feels like one of the worst conditions to put a secondary auto revive for self effect on, and I just don't understand. I don't get it. I do not understand. This is an okay attack. It's relatively powerful, it's got good range, but also it's the only attack that she has in her kit. At least in the main kit. So we're going to be seeing some other things with sub-jobs. We have another cure, crit rate, steroid, single target. It's okay. It's not great though. It also does have a casting time, which is unfortunate for it. Gone with the Gentle Breeze, decrease AP 0 for targets, 0% for targets, so none. Increase effect by 20 if the target has Ignore Fatal or Re-Raise. And then it dispels Ignore Fatal and Re-Raise. So, well, I guess she's only really going to use it if someone has Re-Raise or Ignore Fatal, or this just does literally nothing. This is like Octaslash, though. In most ways, except that it's a non-damaging skill. It's just like a debuff. And for those that it does actually remove buffs from, it's going to remove 20% of their AP. There isn't a case where you're going to have Ignore Fatal and Re-Raise on a character and this removes 40% of their AP, because this says 20% if they have at least one of the following. You know, it's not per. So that's interesting. I really don't like Rallying Cheer. Gone with the Gentle Breeze is interesting, but I'm not entirely sure I like that either. I don't know. These two things have become pretty much mandatory, so it seems like this is going to connect a lot. I don't know. Because then, if you're running the sub-job on her, though, she now only has one attacking skill. Wait, hold on. She still only has one attacking skill. Had to make sure. So, if you want her to have attacks, Cleric sucks. It does have a Sonaga that will remove Curse, so she has a way of removing Curse. I don't think that's super relevant for her because of her aura. Hopefully she won't need that ability, but that's probably the only good thing about this. Yeah, no, just skip Cleric. Her main sub may be interesting, but really I think what we're going to want for her is Sword Sorcerer. That's going to be Shell, 25% reduced magic damage for 3 turns, magic resistance for 3 turns. It's going to help her lean really hard into being anti-magic, at least with that buff, if you do choose to use it. Kind of low damage here. It will increase her magic damage, though. Not sure that this is exactly the right character for me to be happy about that on. Pretty solid. Chance to disable. Damage is weak. AoE is weird. Also, like, the attacking pattern for this is kind of weird. It doesn't cover any of these spaces out here. It's just straight lines, which isn't great. Arc Flurry. This is a 2-hit skill. It does pretty good damage, so this is going to be probably the damage move for her kit. And then she can give herself some slash attack resistance penetration, in addition to some more damage and a double hit skill. This is also going to hit multiple targets, so this might be a good AoE skill for her. Like, if you're using Sword Sorcerer, most of her attacks are slash based, because again, she just has this one magically based attack up here. So maybe this is worth it, but like, she's not a penetration unit. Resnik the Hoppy, penetration unit. Would have loved this type of skill. Her, not really. Yeah. So let's move on to the Limit Burst. Dispel all debuffs for allies. Wait. Yeah. Dispel physical or magical damage reductions. Massive heal. And debuff weakening 20% for 3 turns. I mean, it's pretty good. I really like seeing damage mitigation on these. And this really isn't necessarily damage mitigation. It is an overpowered heal. I guess that's pretty cool, but I don't know. I'm not super into it. So moving on though. Alright, so we have her equipment here. This is actually going to work for another character, Velis, because he collects books. He just loves books, so we didn't want to limit him on this. We said, give him the book. And also, this is a really great piece of equipment for Velis. If you are a Velis player, even if you're ignoring Resnik the Hoppy, this is a really good pickup for him. Like, holy crap, this is a really good book for him. It comes with pretty high magic. You could get the AIM variant, but pretty high magic. Also 30% magic for self. Also, reducing physical damage in area of effect 15% and healing power 15. This is definitely the best book for him, except maybe Legendary Reliquaries if you have it built up. But perhaps you don't. This card just seems like it does a lot. It is unfortunately a Hollow Vision card. If you remember my recent conversation in the trap, I do not like Hollow Vision cards, but this one has my girl Summer Killfay on it, so I had to give it a look, right? And this will actually benefit Summer Killfay with the unit bonus. It's a pretty decent benefit for Resnik as well, and also decent benefit here, just generally speaking. But then it just keeps doing things. So it gives you an ability that restores HP. Like, this is the same power of heal as Resnik's LB. I mean, sure, there's only one cast, but she gets like a second LB. It also restores 150 CT. That's out of you need 1,000 to get a whole turn, so that's 15% of a turn. And then AoE resistance of 25 for 3 turns. And this is a big area of effect. Like, look, here's the thing. For me, what I probably would have preferred, because AoE resistance is great, CT up is great, I would have maybe rather this been her LB. And her LB be here. And be weaker, because why the fuck is this on a vision card? This is way too strong. This is ridiculous. So we're seeing a vision card for Knight, Katana, Black Mage, and Book. And Book has long needed an agility card. Thank great googly moogly that Book finally got a frickin' agility card. It is beyond time that this should have happened. It is going to go a long way to modernizing them as a job type. I think this is a very important thing for Book, especially when you consider that this crazy extra LB only triggers for Book users. Although, oh no, it does trigger for Summer Resin, and Slime, because he's Slime. Actually, this is a pretty dank heal to throw on Slime. Not gonna lie, I don't think you really want this card for people who can't use this. This is strong, but also how strong is healing right now, anyways? But also, is this really healing, or is this all of these other things? Like it has a very good dual purpose. It's a great buff too. Elemental chain resistance 24 isn't maybe the thing I'm most excited about, but magic resistance of 20 I think is pretty solid. But also, here's where the card just don't know when to quit. Increases max damage on quest maps. Now, quest maps are probably the place where you would want this increase the most. We're talking about like big boss content, things where you're trying to build chains, things where you might hit the damage cap 4 times. This would be in one hit. Like, if you build up enough chain and you have Elena come out with Iridescent Blade and she hits him 4 times at the damage limit, that's an additional 10,000 damage for just that hit. Like, this is pretty ridiculous. I love it. I think this card is really powerful, especially, I guess what I'll say is, in the very low chances that you are a diehard Book main, this is probably kind of a must-have. Other than that, though, yeah, no, you probably want to skip this, just like I'd recommend you skip every Hollow Vision card. Then we got Summer Glaciela, so she's getting upgrades. So let's look at the first upgrade here. It's going to be increased single target resistance, 20. Very good for a lot of the single target damage units in the game. And then reduce magical damage taken permanently by 10%. Just lives on her now. She takes 10% less magic damage. This is pretty great because she's already like an overperforming, amazing physical tank. So shoring her up against magic units is just incredible for her. I think it's great. But she also got a limit burst upgrade. It reduces the AP by 10, which is pretty cool. Gives her guaranteed hit for 3 turns before dealing damage. So this will be a guaranteed hit, and it will make her next couple of attacks guaranteed hits as well. But in addition to doing all of the other things that it has already done, it's going to give her an additional 20% reduced magic damage taken. It's going to stack with her innate 10 to give her 30% while this is active for 3 turns. And it's going to give her regen, 10% health restored or 30% health total over 3 turns. So, holy crap, this is a really powerful skill. It's going to crank her attack. It's going to make her unable to miss, basically. It already has a 200 mod, so it's hitting pretty hard. AoE resistance of 40 for herself. That's only for 2 turns, but dang. Reduce magic damage by 20% and regenerates her health. You know, they really threw in the kitchen sink with this one, and I kind of love it because, you know, I haven't been doing, you'll have noticed that I haven't been doing update videos for a lot of characters, but this is one character I think actually has a really impactful update. And also because she's a character that's still relevant to this day, even though it's been a year since she was released. She has maintained her relevance for that entire year. In addition to that, though, she's another one of these characters that's both getting an MA2 and a limit burst upgrade at the same time. I really think this pumps her power. I think this keeps her relevant. I think this is amazing for her. Veritas of the Frost, I know we've already got him in the game, but most likely you don't, well, what am I saying most likely? You have like 10, maybe 15 Veritas of the Frost coins by now, right? You need 120 to actually unlock this character. So for most of you, this is a character you're going to be getting in the future. Looking at the stats, I'm not actually expecting these to compare with modern units for 2 reasons. There's going to be an accessory coming that is going to level up their power to that level, but also he doesn't have a Dream Awakening either. So I would say this HP is a little bit low. Again, it's probably going to go up to right about the same level that we saw with Resnik by the time there's a Dream upgrade. The attack is a little bit low as well. The agility is pretty good though. The agility is pretty awesome, and especially with that accessory, that's going to get great. Dexterity and luck, I think this is a good starting point. 15 accuracy already is probably good. Critical rate, 20, that's not bad. The resistances here are great too. Like, he's only weak to strike and has pretty strong positive resistances to basically any type of weapon, including staves. So as long as you aren't punching him with your bare fists, his weapons mastery is going to keep him safe. Doesn't have as huge a resistance to the counter element as we saw with Resnik. She had 30%. Maybe that's where this extra 10% left, because, you know, again, we'll see similar things here. Resistance to Berserk tends to be more of a fire-based skill, but there are other characters that can Berserk you. So this is cool for an ice unit. Stun resistance, poison resistance, those are pretty good. I said that for Resnik. It's true for him too. Basically an extra 7,500 physical HP base. That's pretty cool. This is pretty nice. Like, I know I complained that his HP isn't super high yet, but with proper equipment coming in the future and this active, wow. Especially against physical teams, he's going to feel like he has a lot of HP, like, immediately. 24 attack, defense penetration, and slash attack resistance. This is the DPS combo. This is it. This is like what you want. This is awesome. This is great. And I can't imagine a better cherry on top. Like, this is the brawler set. I love it. If you want more defense penetration, more attack, you can get that. I'm not necessarily sure that he needs you to do that, but you could get it. This is probably, though, the thing I would go with, the extra agility and more initial AP. That's pretty good. And probably ignore the rest. Clairvoyant Slash is basically the same counterattack that his original form got. So since this is Gilgamesh before Gilgamesh, it would kind of make sense they have similar counters. So just a predictive counter, pretty basic. I'm not super excited about the other two. See, he can decrease defense, he can increase reaction block rate full. So No reactions. No countering this character. New counter skill, Burst Edge, 4 turns for self, and Dispel Auto Revive for self for 4 turns. Oh, here's the unlock skill. So Burst Edge is going to counter slash and pierce damage, 80% chance. So luckily slash is the most common damage type in the game. This is already a versus physical character, so you're probably running him into slash characters pretty consistently. This could be pretty good. I'm not mad at this at all. This could be really good, especially with it carrying the spell Auto Revive too. Triple Execution, this is a 3-hit skill, decreases elemental chain resistance, and does decent damage. That's alright. Silverite Defense raises elemental chain resistance for allies if they have courage. Also gives him courage. Also decreases AP consumption. And also gives... I'm so confused by this. So if your buddies happen to have courage, they can also get elemental chain resistance. Otherwise this isn't going to do anything for other people. That's a really confusing way to design a skill. Yeah, because everything else is for self. So this is a buddy buff that isn't really a buddy buff unless someone has courage. Otherwise it's a self buff. That's bad for AI reasons. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, it doesn't look that weird, but it's bad for AI reasons. You can't depend on this being a buddy buff. At least not without some setup. Decrease AP consumption and decrease critical damage resistance for 4 turns as long as you have courage. Okay, very cool. Dual Hexblade. Select up to 2 targets. Insane range. There is a single target attack resistance shred of 60% for 3 turns. It's also, in its upgraded form, going to dispel all buffs, dispel haste, dispel physical magical damage increases, so like full next generation dispel on this. Big damage. Lots of casts of this. And if I'm not mistaken, this is curse. This is just curse. He can curse people. Cool beans. Break physical barriers as well. Pretty good damage. AoE skill. Not bad. Good way to finish out what's already like a really impressive main kit. I mean, I think this character is going to be very strong into the future. If you also wanted to do this in a more ciphery kind of way, I don't like the range on this at all. The damage is only okay, but decreased healing power 40. Not bad. If you're running into big curse resistance, this could be a way to do a similar thing very poorly. I mean, honestly, compared to the range and everything about this, compared to the shred, I you know what? Never mind. Although I will say, 320% mod? This has got to be a jump skill. Or something. Because it has a casting time. So he's got a big jump damage skill. He's got a Dragoony shit. Wow, okay, cool. Cool, he's really aping the stuff of like... this is supposed to be Veritas of the Winds territory. Alright, Great Knight. Can dispel auto restore, and also give that to allies. That could be really interesting, but I'm not sure that you run it over his other buffs. With him having that physical damage barrier shield thing already passive, though, this might actually be he might have more room to have different buffs on him. Also, since his main buff isn't actually a buddy buff in some certain instances, you might need this to make his AI work right in certain cases. The rest of this is interesting. He's not a particularly high faith unit. You could run him as such, just to increase the chances of silence, but also to increase the chances of curse. That could be pretty powerful for him. So silencing sweep could be cool. Another way to break physical barriers, not that he needed it, and way to break ice resistance, which actually could be pretty cool for him. And then Lancer, this is pretty old school. Sharp Spear gives pretty good bonuses for what it does, but it doesn't do enough in my opinion. There is a 100% hit skill here. I guess that is worth what it's worth. Definitely not my favorite. I think this is probably it. this right here. Although, I'll get back to you on Apex Execution. That seems interesting. Moving on to Shuriken. Wow. So, she can apply Immobilize if she has magic distance resistance, which is interesting. This kind of reminds me of the way that Ashen Mont works. So that's kind of cool. Wow, this page looks barren. There's like, nah, I give up on this TMR. I'm not even gonna try. Did this finish loading? Hold on. Bismarck? Bismarck, why don't the buttons work? Bismarck? Okay, so Shuriken is a very, very powerful magic unit. She is going to absolutely wreck people, and she's going to be a very powerful combination with other magic units or with wind. I don't know why this isn't working right now, but she is another candidate for follow-up skills. She's going to have another really powerful follow-up skill, and she's going to help create a follow-up meta. As if we already didn't have one, but now you could have a team that has fully modern units, all three of which have follow-up skills. You could have Ashen Mont following up his own attack, and then Gilgamesh follows it up, and then Shuriken follows it up. It's ridiculous. So there's some really wild stuff you can do with this character. I'm probably saving for her for wind, just because I feel like I might need a strong wind character. I wish that I could know if I could save up for water, but water doesn't, like, my water team has Joom. That's what I'm trying to say. My wind team does not have a Joom yet, so I feel like I need a strong DPS for them, and I feel like this girl fits that. What in the formatting? What are we even doing here? What's going on? Okay, so this page actually has the rest of the page. That's cool. Although Sonille is not a character that I intended to talk much about. She's a duelist. It's a thing we've seen before. Like, if you want to know if this character is good, or what this character is likely to do, you can just look at characters like Chunok. So I think, though, that Sonille, luckily enough, from what I've heard from the JP side, from what I've asked other content creators about, Sonille is probably about as evasive as Halloween Lucio. She doesn't have any sure hit avoidance in the same way that Halloween Lucio doesn't, and unlike the upgrades to Chunok, but I think that she's probably evasive enough that this could be a good grab for people. As long as evasion remains kind of a niche that people aren't building to deal with, I think characters like Sonille are going to be incredible curveballs. And at 70 cost, she's easier to get than the 100 cost characters. There's probably going to be a really easy way to pity her, or maybe even purchase her outright for people who are into that. She is a low-cost character, so expect her to be a bit underpowered. And again, I am not particularly psyched about these jobs, but I have it on good authority that she has pretty strong evasive potential, at least if people aren't... The guaranteed hit on Summer Glaciela could be really important against a character like this, I guess we'll say. So there's a lot of things that could be trouble for her. She's not maybe foolproof, but if she's as evasive as Lucio, then, you know, he's just had good stonks in evasion, and I can't argue with that character. So maybe it's a little late for Sonille, and a little late for a new evade character on par with that. Maybe she needs to be better than him, since it's, you know, going on Halloween as it is, and will definitely be going on Halloween by the time we get this character. But I think she could be pretty good. And then finally we have Ramada. And I really love her redesign in terms of outfit. Like, I also really just like, yeah. Nah, she good. She good. I dig her vibes. So, Ramada. Debuff effect weakening for self, reduced magic damage taken for self, acquired AP, single target resistance, critical evasion. Pretty good. Her resistances are also pretty good. So I've complained that certain characters haven't had good resistances. This is pretty good resistances. This is a net positive of 35 resistance. Still, she's going to be weak to strike. A lot of things seem to either have a weak point for strike or just don't resist it, like we saw with Veritas of the Frost. So another... Love to see that the strike niche remains strong. But she's going to be really good against magic, against slash, and against piercing. Resistance to frostbite and to berserk. Very interesting. It's odd that she doesn't get another resistance. But I guess she got a lot of resistances up here, so they were like, alright, we're going to move a status resistance up here. That makes sense to me. Stats after Dream. Really high HP. Maybe not the most ridiculous thing in the world, but this is definitely on the high end. Her AP does feel maybe a little bit low. Her attack isn't, though. This is a really good attack stat. Also, 71 agility. Definitely the highest that I've seen in this video, and the highest I've seen recently. Not by a ton, but, you know, even 1 or 2 agility can make a huge difference for these new characters. Dexterity seems pretty good. Luck is not super high. Does have good accuracy and good crit rate. 27 accuracy, 25 crit rate. Both great. I will get a translation for this effect and work that into the edit. But defense penetration and physical and magical area attack resistance isn't bad. It may depend on what that other ability is. Whether or not like I'm a big fan of this. But also, why does she only have 4 support skills? What's going on here? Are there some that aren't displaying? She should have 6. I don't think I've seen a character that just doesn't have more than 4. That's weird. She almost has as many counters as she has support skills. It's very strange. Slash and missile damage 80%. I like how they're increasing this to 80% because missile isn't nearly as common as like slash and magic would be. I guess that's alright. Increase attack 70%. So if you try to attack her with a sword or a gun, she's going to get really mad at you and beat your fucking ass. This is pretty interesting. Hopefully it doesn't overlap with things in her kit. But, wow. No, that seems pretty good. Danger sense. Nah, okay. Not a huge fan of those. Piercing, restore CT on critical. That's a 4th of a turn, so that's not terrible. I mean, it's a basic attack, whatever. Reduce magic damage taken 25% for 4 turns for self. Let's see. Protect. And then more stuff that I'm going to have to grab a translation for. Yipes. Again, I don't know if we can send Bismarck money, but like, if we're going to be sending anybody money right now, I think Bismarck might need it. Just get a little bit of help with this website, please. I'm going to guess that this is her curse skill, because for whatever reason, curse is still being inconsistently translated. Yeah, that's her curse skill. Okay. Breaks physical barriers, no chance to counter for 3 turns. 200% mod. Got this kind of calculated rend big plus pattern that is pretty powerful. Like, I really think that pattern can wreck people. 200% chance physical damage reduction for 3 turns. So they're going to be doing 20% less physical damage. And then chance to curse. Single target resistance 25% or 25 for allies. Critical rate 25 for allies. Restore AP when performing a critical hit for 4 turns for allies. Courage. Absorb 50% of damage done for 4 turns. And restore AP 20. So she's going to be another self-restorative unit. I like that that's on the courage buff. Also, when you combine just kind of the base, when you spend 2 TP, you get 1 AP. So this is 17 plus, this is 37 AP just for casting this skill. That's going to be pretty great. That almost gets her all the way to a limit burst. Next attack spells Protect, reduces physical damage, or it removes the physical magical area attack damage buffs for target before dealing damage. So kind of like Joom's LB here. And that's going to be a 200% mod that can go up to 280 if they're cursed, hasted, or auto-restored. So these two are incredibly common in the meta right now. Punishing those with a 280% modifier on an AoE is ridiculous. But also, she can inflict curse on people. And a pretty wide area of effect too. So like, even if they aren't coming in with these meta effects, you can just apply your own curse here. But wait, it gets upgraded even more. But really, it just changes the AoE pattern. You get 3 more squares. This becomes more of an energy blaster type full square pattern, which is good. I don't particularly like this pattern. I think this is a little weak for such a strong skill. This definitely makes it quite powerful. She can inflict doom and decrease agility with her spear. Okay, not super excited about those. Strider's a pretty good job though. When I was talking about her counter and overlap with her kit, this is the kind of thing I meant. Might be good to give her a source of that anyways. It's not dependent on her counter, but I don't think she needs it. This isn't the greatest buff anyways. She's not really a slash character, so this doesn't... Okay, I don't think either of these buffs really work for her, unfortunately. I'm also not a big fan of any of these other skills. This is not what she needs from Strider. I actually like Strider as a job. I don't think this iteration of it, considering what she's got going for, is very good. This whole job is magically based. So I don't think that's going to be very good either. She has a pretty amazing main job, but her sub jobs are not good. This is a cool skill though. I like this. 200% physical damage increase, 20% for 3 turns, so she's going to pump her damage. 240 mod is quite high anyway, so that's going to really pump that up. 50% CT reduction for targets. So if they were about to take a turn, that's like losing 450 plus CT. And then it's going to increase her CT by 250. So this is like steal time in an AoE at range. This really reminds me of Valentine's Odira, and that was a really powerful effect. So, well, I know that I said that I wasn't super excited about another Lightning Spear unit, but I am excited about Ramada. Ramada has long been one of my favorite characters in this game, like, since I started playing. So, maybe I actually will pull her just to do this new outfit some respect. But with all that being said, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the content like these looks into the future. Thank you so much for watching. It would also be kind of helpful if you just leave a comment, you know? That kind of engagement helps YouTube know that, you know, people like this stuff, people want to see more of this stuff. It helps me get new audience, and also your comment might help someone else, or you might help someone else with their comment. There's all sorts of ways that we can act as a community in the comment sections, so get to it. Leave your comment today. And while you're on your way down there, there's a link in the description that's going to lead to everywhere else in the Jockey Fox Media universe. I have a main channel that discusses just the world. America, mainly. If you want some weird insights into America, follow that channel. It also exists as a podcast on Spotify if you just want to chill and listen to the sound of my voice. That's valid. You are valid, my friend. And there is also options to read my books. So you can read my words and then, I don't know, maybe like adjust your internal narrator to my voice if you wanna. That could be fun. And with all that being said, there are also ways to donate to the channel that you can find there if you didn't want to buy a book. But personally, in my opinion, buying a book is the best way to support the channel, so you should do that. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.